I thought I'd have a crack at a film just because I thought it would make life more interesting. And it certainly did. It was certainly different. And David Putnam came back with Bill Forsyth with Local Hero. And it couldn't have been a better thing to have gotten involved in. And of course I fell in love with the story straight away. And one of the things about it was that it resonated with me in a way that it still does, and that is just uncanny. I'd got to know Gregory's Girl and, you know, a couple of the films that Bill had made, yes. And that sinking feeling too. So yes, I did know about Bill. But this seemed to me to be a different order of a project. It just had a universality to it that was just magnetic. Accomplished musician? Absolutely not. I was just some sort of Geordie strummer, really. You know, it was. I just felt my way along with it. I met with David Putnam, the producer, and David had played me something that I'd done that he wanted a feel for when the credits were rolling at the end. I think it was Tunnel of Love or something like that. And so he wanted it positive at the end, that feeling of the positivity. So that was part of it, and in fact that became the way that sort of informed the way that I did the Local Hero theme, really, that with the sax and the power. And in fact that became the sort of signature tune at St James's Park for Newcastle United as well, or the power of that recording just ended up striking a chord here and there. The whole thing took on a number of different forms. Well, fortunately for me, that Bill and I got on pretty well, and I was living partly in New York at the time, so we could talk about it quite a bit. And then he just seemed to want to have me involved far too early, which I didn't know that was the normal thing or not, because it was my first time, so I was a new boy. So, yeah, I started way too early, and ended up writing quite a lot of different things, and going on the set as well. So once Bill had got the actors assembled up in Scotland, I was over there. I was part of it, and I spent, I can't remember how long, but it was a few days up there because I wanted to do some recording there in Scotland itself with a Nagra tape machine, you know, with the film recordist there who was there, just to get basic recordings of the little Cayley band that we kind of formed, which had to be an amateur outfit, you know, it was deliberately so as not to sound too polished. And I think that we managed to carry that off. I also remember trying to rig up a studio there, which was Women's Institute Hall in Banff, and we were putting bits of foam up the stairs and different things all over the place. It was great. It was just good fun doing it. One thing I do remember is all the actors, before the shooting was going to start, all just sitting around saying what a great script it was. And I think that having just completed a musical of Local Hero myself, the same thing applies. If you have to just make sure that you've got it on the page first, you've got something that you get something out of reading it, and it's giving you things and working as a script. Because if it's not on the page, I don't think it's going to really answer on film. What comes first, the music or the words? How many times have I been asked that? And I've only been asked it 430 times because it's a good question. And I suppose I ask myself that too. Sometimes it could be just something you say that would strike it, that would resonate somehow. I do remember just turning a corner in Manhattan one day and just feeling the theme. So it's an impossible question to answer. I think I think if you're born in Scotland, or if you have that, Celtic music or Gaelic music is part and parcel of what you heard since from an early age, then it's never too far from the surface. There's a couple of guys in my band who are folk musicians. That's part of what I do, and when they're playing, it seems natural to me to play with a sound that messes it all up, you know, with a big distorted electric sound. So it's a synthesis of all the stuff that I've always loved. So I just put the blues into it. To me, it's like natural. I remember a jazz musician asking me one day, "Hey man, you know, how do you write those melodies, man? They sound like they're 1,000 years old." And well, I don't know that they do. I just think I'm not frightened of it. In Newcastle, when I was about 7, the melodies are very similar. There's a lot of ties between Scotland and the northeast. So, I mean, my uncles wore kilts, you know, they were that keen on everything Scottish, you know, and played the bagpipes and joined the Scottish regiments and stuff. So I grew up listening to a lot of that music. It was just playing. And I think that's, I don't think you ever really get away too far away from it. So if I write a song like Piper to the End or whatever, it will never be very far away from the surface. You never really know what I never thought that I'd nailed anything. I never do. I'd start things always wondering whether I can do it or not. To me, there's always a very large measure of doubt in all my recipes. You need large ladles of that, you know, for it to feel normal to me. I didn't think that I could do it, so it was a challenge to me to try to put together a film score. And I don't know how it happened, actually, because I certainly didn't know what I was doing. I mean, I wrote too much stuff. But then, of course, the film was long, and the picture was, I can't remember how long it was. The first one that I saw it went on for half the afternoon, and they were busy trying to cut it down so that they could turn it round 3 times in an evening for American audiences in the cinema. And so a lot of the stuff that the music got hammered just the same way as the film footage did. There's some beautiful scenic shots and things, but they're very short. They really are, but they're beautiful, and they're telling. And it just goes to show how you can do so much with actually so little footage. You know, it's very deceptive. Well, yes, and then I was interested in trying to paint the contrast. And one of the things that I didn't want to do was get a set of bagpipes and make it tartan music, you know, necessarily. So that led me to Mike's playing. Obviously, it's an elemental thing to it. And he's a phenomenal musician. Mike Brecker was as great as it's possible to be on that instrument. But he was playing with an outfit that I was interested in anyway, and I was starting to listen to a lot of that stuff at the same time, and I thought it made for a proper contrast. Because even though Houston was the South, I didn't just want to do a kind of country-style twang stuff, although there's a little bit of that for the radio and the energy of Houston.
Sound of Texas South, and overnight Texas South had 1/2 inch of rain.
I was experimenting a lot as well. You know, I was starting cars up in the garage at the studio and recording them, and I was doing all sorts of different things. Yeah, no, it was just a pleasurable thing, and those guys, Mike Manieri and Tony, were fantastic, and Steve Jordan on drums as well. You know, so the people that I just kind of knew in New York. I don't think so. I mean, I certainly don't see myself as that. It's just the way that things have turned out. I don't sort of go and take a fee and then sort of try to do a movie score. So it's a slightly different way now. I think the agencies that run composers for films just have hordes and hordes of people happy to write movie scores and, you know, trained to, and they write brilliant movie scores. I mean, I think there's probably pressure now, though, for a lot of those guys and girls to write cheap ones because, you know, they'll have some synthoid setups or things, whatever, at home and try and turn things in for less money. And whether that's a mark of success, I don't always, you know, wouldn't always know. But I don't suppose I'll ever really get to find out what it is to make films with orchestras. I don't think that would ever come to that. Maybe one day. Well, no, I mean, I didn't know anything about musicals at all, and certainly didn't regard myself as a musical person, you know, in terms of being someone who likes musicals. Although I remember as a child, I mean, I remember enjoying West Side Story, but who didn't? So again, sort of large measures of doubt, really. And I think I remember saying to Bill, well, I'll give it a shot. I'll give a song a shot or something like that. And they liked it. And I think that just sort of got me going somehow, that I could write songs for the characters. Lo and behold, it was starting to become a musical straight away, and I sort of felt as though I could write, and I ended up writing, can't remember how many, but over 20 odd things, I think, and so really I just kept bashing away, and really in a way it's quite good because the story, I guess, formed around those songs being there. And but the interesting thing was that I never lost interest in the beauty of the story, and it always fascinates me that. The fact that when the actors would read it, just reading in a room, it would move me. You get to the end of that story, it's just moving. It embodies the whole essence of identity and, you know, who you are, what you are, what are the important things in life.